Good morning, Sylvia.
Good morning.
We have this fantastic family video we have here, and need you to help us and tell us who these people are and what's going on. We're just going to kind of go through and enjoy some family pictures. So, as we start off, who are we looking at here?
Well, on the left is my father, Chester Strawn, and next is Mark Strawn, the second son of Robert, who's on the far right. And my grandmother Candace in the center, and Robert Strawn on the end, on the right side. This is Ted that just walked across. That's my grandmother, Candace Ritchie Strawn. And that's Mark with his two oldest children, Candace and Mark. That's John, the oldest. No, that wasn't quite right.
That's right. Well,
We need to back up.
who are these two now?
Now that's John's oldest children, Candace, named after grandmother, and Mark. Now jumps to the
Pineapples.
and that's my cousin Pat Strawn.
Now, were pineapples kind of something the family you love to grow?
Yes. Well, no, not particularly. That's Ted Strawn with his daughter Pat. And I think Uncle Ted grew pineapples 1 or 2 seasons only.
Okay. And these are some papayas.
Some papayas.
And who's this?
That's Pat.
Pat. Okay.
Pat is Althea and Ted Strawn's daughter.
So now we're in the grove, and here.
Yeah, that's Marilyn, my sister, and I riding horses through the orange grove.
Looks like great fun.
Marilyn is the cowgirl. The horses were not to eat the orange trees, but they did.
So there you are.
Yes, that's Sylvia Strawn Crump. Well, I saw Uncle Ted's head down there. I was showing these big old cypress trees. I think they were cypress. Ted was a hunter, and these are some of his hunting dogs, his bird dogs.
And so they like to go quail hunting,
Yes.
and people call quails Bob White. I wonder if we'll ever hear about Bob White again.
Well, I don't know. That is one of the labels. Was Bob White.
Very
oranges.
famous.
Yes.
Very famous.
He had some nice bird dogs. Giving him a drink of water. Now this is up in Uncle Ted's plane. He had a little plane that he'd fly around over the orange groves and check on things, I guess. And this is looking over, now we're in Lake County.
Now this is the property that they bought from Wilson Cypress, Seminole Woods, correct?
Right, right. Beautiful spring over there. And as you can see, you can just drink straight from the spring.
And it's still there, basically untouched from how it was
there.
after it was timbered.
Yeah.
So we were back in
They're
Uncle Ted's
raising-
plane.
Yeah, back up in the plain. I don't know which grove that was. May have been the Caraway, which was between Lake Dias and Lake Caraway.
But we can notice that here that they clean cultivated the grove, and each individual tree was separate, so they were planted on greater distances.
They did not use herbiciding, I don't think. I don't think they used herbicides.
No.
It was all a lot of hand hoeing
Yep.
under trees. And they used mules to pull the wagons through the groves up until the 60s, when they did go to the tractors with the big fenders, the low, smaller tractors with big fenders.
Okay. And here they are clearing out to plant, so I'm assuming they would get the pine trees and everything else, palmettos off to plant new citrus.
Now that's my father with his back to us.
Okay.
This is firing the groves on a cold night when the temperature dropped, I believe if it dropped to 28 degrees,
Yep, at 28, it started doing some
they
damage
started,
to the fruit.
right.
And this was before heaters, and so for many, many years, pine lighter knots were used to protect the groves. Now I'm assuming that tree was declined for some reason. Now, this is a lost art.
They are grafting
Yep,
there.
they're stump grafting a tree. The top
Right.
of it was killed for some reason, and so now they're inserting graft wood into the living stump, and it looks like that this one they have 5 different bud sticks in there, and then they'll pack that tightly with sand and actually cover the whole thing up until the sticks take,
Right.
and they'll grow a new tree.
Right.
Now this is spreading fertilizer. This was when fertilizer came in bags and unloaded off of the train, and
this is in the 1960s
Right.
when they started with the tractors.
these are the old orchard tractors with the fenders. Yep. And,
Yeah.
but they still took men to load that fertilizer, and at the bottom of here was a disc that they were pulling.
That's Chester Strawn checking the pump. He used many different motors, even the Packard out of his car, to run some of the pumps.
And this is an irrigation system. A lot of pipes, there were different versions of this. Some had just holes in the pipe, but that one had little sprinklers. Now here's your mules.
That's Napoleon. Napoleon drove the mules. He was a good mule driver. One of the mules was named Betty, and I don't remember the other one. I remember that because that was my mother's name. One of the mules' name.
And so here we have the harvesting operation underway, and your family had your own boxes, your own field boxes.
Yes, they made them there in the summertime, and the pickers would pick into these boxes, and they had little cards with a number, and every one of the men that were picking had a number, and they would slip their number on this little card in each box, and they were paid by the number of boxes that they picked. And as I remember, when I wanted a job and picked some oranges, it was 15 cents a box. Fill a box and you got 15 cents.
Wow.
Took me all day to earn 15 cents.
And the fruit that was picked in the grove was hauled out of the grove with the mule-drawn carts to the edge of the road, and then it was transported, and this is the packing house in De Leon Springs.
This was the packing
It
house.
was the packing house.
Yeah.
And everybody called it the Bob White Packing House, but that's not really. It was Theodore Strawn Packing, but you told me that the paint faded on Theodore Strawn far more than it did on Bob White, and so everybody called it the Bob White Packing House.
In later days, Bob White stood out. The rest of it had faded, so they called it the Bob White. That's Grover on the right. I don't know who was picking. I didn't know him.
Mm-hmm.
But they had picked up every one of those. That's a 70-pound box of oranges. The bigger boxes were 90 pounds.
Right, y'all had 2/3 the size of a standard field box, made it a little bit easier. But all the fruit was hauled out of the grove for a while, and here, once it got out of the grove, then it went to a truck that hauled it to the packing house. They didn't want heavy equipment tearing up the grove when they were harvesting. So now I think we're in the packing house. Did you ever pack fruit?
No, they didn't let me. I was in the annex part for a while, Christmas vacation. A friend of mine, Jeannie Goff, and I had a job, and we had one semester of typing, and we typed labels. Well, I don't know where those boxes ended up, but we did the best we could, typing labels. That was our job during Christmas break when we were in high school.
And those are all the eliminations in the back going to a juice plant. Do you have any idea what juice plant they went to?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, they was Libby had one in Ocala. There was Golden Gym and B&W in Groveland and a number around. And this is the testing the fruit for maturity.
That's Mr. Gipple, I believe.
Now, he was probably a state employee that had to make sure that your fruit met minimum standards for sugar, acid.
They were always out testing.
Yep.
Testing.
Grading fruit. And one of the reasons that the Bob White brand was so in demand was that he graded it very carefully, and nothing but the best quality fruit went into a box that had a Bob White label on it.
Yes, there were many workers.
You look at that fruit, and I've looked at many oranges, and it's amazing that they don't have any rust mite damage on that fruit. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I noticed the soap suds. I always liked seeing the soap suds washing that fruit.
Well, the packing house was unique. The original packing house, I believe you said, burned down, and the new house was built with the idea that it wasn't going to be burned.
The original one, well, they started in a tent across from the entrance to DeLynn Springs State Park. And then they built a frame packing house, and that one burned down. And then my grandfather had this one built, and he called all his sons that were away in college or wherever they were home to help build that packing house that's sort of half standing now.
Well, it was metal.
Right. So that it would never burn, and it didn't. It just kind of
beautiful
rusted away.
Yeah, unfortunately the vandals have gotten to it, but it was a state of the art and a showpiece, and people would come from all over the state to see the Strawn Packing House in DeLeon Springs.
And they built a separate little, sort of a Spanish-looking little office off to the side out of, looks like just cement. I don't know if there's concrete block or what. But.
Now this looks like they were getting ready to put some kumquats in some of the boxes, some of the fancy boxes that flipped out.
Yeah. Now those don't look as orange.
I thought they might have been grapefruit.
They could have been grapefruit, but we didn't ship.
Now see here, the ladies are packing into the wire Bruce boxes that were used then.
And they'd pick up
and so
2 at a time and pack. I packed some fruit in my day, but I could never do 2 at a time and make it work out right.
And they would end up with the top row.
Now they're marking on there color added. I don't know. I never did understand where the color came from, but they had to stamp on it, color added.
For a while, we had they had dipping vats or vat that you would add color to the fruit.
That fruit didn't need any color.
No, and this was a sizer, so fruit was sized, and still packing into the wooden boxes. And this is rather unusual because cardboard had come around about that time. Y'all must have been one of the last ones to get away from the old wooden boxes that.
They like that type.
And that was
the intrinsic.
And the
and the Bob White.
2 famous labels from Strawn Packing.
The intrinsic was the top, and then grown in Old Volusia. Those 3.
A lot of people on the payroll, Sylvia, to hand move all this stuff, and you run them in a rail car there. So.
I remember my dad said the most workers he ever had at one time was 90 workers. I don't know when that was. Now, they added this on later. This is going for juice.
Right, that's all the eliminations.
That's the eliminations.
Nice looking fruit that's being hauled to a juice plant.
That's what they're selling now.
Yes, they'd be glad to have that.
Yeah. Changes color.
Now,
that's the film, I think.
Now, you had, this film was done by professionals, right? This wasn't one of the families using the movie camera. They had a professional company come in and do this.
As I understand and remember, it was Uncle Ted's idea, Ted Strawn's idea, to have this done. And they had a meeting with grandmother being the president, and they had a meeting. Would they do this? Because it was quite costly at the time. And so they said, okay, Ted could do his thing. And he was good at that type thing.
Well, it's priceless, right? I mean, you can't go back and get that kind of information, and to see this, I know that it was fantastic. And we really appreciate you and the family sharing it. And we're going to make it available for anybody who wants to look at it online. So it'll be available for
All right, that's good.
thousands and hundreds and millions of people.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. Okay.